I'm Stacey.
I'm Jenny.
And this is Learning for Life,
a homeschool podcast.
We are two homeschoolers who use different methods, curriculum, and strategies to make it all work.
Our goal is to help parents teach kids how to develop a lifelong love of learning. Welcome back! In this episode, we are talking about songs every kid should know with Derek Moore. Derek is a radio professional, so he kind of puts us to shame, but he's been working in radio basically his whole adult life. He is an expert when it comes to music, particularly classic rock, so he is here today to talk to us about how to introduce some classic songs to your kids that they should know, and these are songs the whole family can enjoy together.
If you are new here, welcome. Jenny and I are your hosts, and here we discuss all things that are related to homeschooling and helping you instill a love of learning in your children. You can see all of our resources, including the show notes for this episode, at kidslearningforlife.com.
All right, so let's talk about Derek Moore, the man, the myth, the legend. He's been working in radio forever. He's been doing radio stuff since he was a junior in high school.
That is crazy. I mean, I was not doing podcasting stuff when I was junior in high school. So
I didn't know what I wanted to do in high school, so I think that's really impressive, and I think it's interesting. So he's been in radio for about 32 years, so he has quite the radio legacy, and he actually hosts his own podcast now called The Show with Derek Moore, and you can find that on Spotify. And just for some background, in case you're wondering, so Derek and I actually worked together previously in the radio industry together. So we both have a background in radio, but I was just behind the scenes. I have a boring radio job. He has the fun kind of radio job where he gets to listen to music and talk to the audience. So that's why he's the perfect person to have on for this episode.
All right, Derek has prepared this awesome list for us. Jenny and I have not heard his recommendations yet, so we are really excited to hear what songs he has chosen. So let's go ahead and dive into that list. We are so happy, Derek, to have you on this podcast with us. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me on. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think we have posed an interesting challenge to you, and I'm really, really excited to hear what you have come up with. So can you just give us a brief description of this list of songs that you have come up with?
I would say it's, I promise, it is none of the obvious choices that parents are not going to want to hear again after 5 spins.
Okay.
It's definitely, there's no Baby Shark. There's no Let It Go from Frozen. Hakuna Matata I almost put on, but, I had to stay true.
You are speaking Stacey's language.
Matata.
Yeah, she's obsessed with Lion King. So, I mean,
It's a great track.
It is. My dad and I were just talking. I just drove him home one day. It's a long story. It's a long drive, too, because he lives an hour away from me. And we just listened to, old Disney songs, from Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast. And he's like, these songs are so beautiful. And I'm like, they are beautiful. If you think about them just as songs and not as part of the Disney universe, a lot of the songs are actually legitimately good.
Yeah, I mean, Bare Necessities is one of my favorite songs. That's a great song.
Yeah.
But
That's the modern day YOLO.
Yeah.
It has modern day
Absolutely.
roots for us. It's wow, this is how everyone's living. All right, Derek, well, we're ready for this list. So anytime you're ready, you start with song number 1.
Okay, well, the Beatles, I have 4 songs from the Beatles.
Oh, perfect.
Now, 2 are sung by Ringo. Can you guys name one of them?
I can immediately right this minute. Yellow Submarine.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
I am not a huge, I know of songs from the Beatles when you tell me the title, but I couldn't name any right now.
How dare you? That's horrible.
Yellow Submarine, is that the right Beatles?
Yes.
That is one, yes.
Okay.
Octopus's Garden would be the other Ringo
Oh.
song.
I was going to say, I can't think of a single other Ringo song.
Yeah, there's some others
Okay.
that not as popular, maybe.
Oh, okay.
So, Hello, Goodbye, you think about it. You say yes, I say no, you say stop, I say go. I mean, that's perfect for kids, right? And it's catchy. And then All Together Now, which is kind of an album track. And that's basically all they say is all together now. They kind of go around in circles. So that's great for kids.
Yeah, I mean, kids love anything redundant that they can just hold on to and just sing at the top of their lungs over and over again.
Yeah, and that's basically all they say the whole song. So, and it's catchy. So,
Well, it kind of reminds me of the outro kind of thing of Hey Jude, because it's like just that na na na. I don't want to sing it right now, but it's just like over and over. I'm sure you guys would love that.
I would.
I'm not gonna do it right now. Yeah, but like that whole melody where like you could just yell it at the top of your lungs and just do it over and over again, and it's like it never kind of. I guess it does get old for maybe people listening, but singing it is fun.
It gets old for people like me who have played it for over 30 years. That's when it gets old. But for like a kid, it's great to see the magic again. You know, when they take it for the first time.
I'm curious. I have a nerdy radio question for you because I've always listened to like classic rock stations on the radio. That's typically what I gravitate towards if I'm listening to terrestrial radio. And I'm curious why radio stations don't actually play the Beatles very often.
Well, because they're seen as too old. They're trying to get younger.
But even for like oldies stations, like I just feel like they're not played on really any kind of station.
Well, it's funny because if you look at the research every year, the Beatles' number one demographic is 18 to 24-year-olds.
Even like just across the years?
Yeah.
Wow.
But, you know, as of, you know, the last 10 or 15 years, 20 years or so, because it's new to them. It's not new to me, so maybe I don't have that same feeling that I once did.
What you're saying is that we should be playing them on like the top 100 stations.
Well, I think the Beatles, I mean, anytime they do anything, I mean, Paul McCartney's got his Hulu special with Rick Rubin on right now, and everybody's going crazy over it. There's still that passion for the band and the guys individually, yet radio goes, well, they're too old. They've been around for 50 years, and we want to get younger, so let's not play the Beatles. That's the answer. They still play like a couple, like Let It Be, you know, things like that. But basically the whole catalog they ignore, and I just think that's a mistake.
I agree. And, you know, I happen to be one of these people that was raised on the Beatles. My dad exposed me to a lot of their music. And it's actually interesting. I think locally at Capitol Public Radio for a while when I was a kid, there was actually a kid on the radio who had like a song once a month, I think. And it was just all Beatles is what he would play. Like that was the theme. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. I don't even know where this kid is. Maybe if I Googled it, I'd be able to find it. But so my dad got me interested in the Beatles like that because I was like, oh, kids like this music too. It's not just my old dad.
Yeah. No, I fell in love with it thanks to my dad, who was also in radio for many years. And he would just bring home copies of everything before it came out. And we would just sit down and play the new anything. And he would just, or old stuff, you know, old Stevie Wonder, Motown, you know, anything. And that's all we did was play music. That's how my love affair for music developed, because I think it's great when parents give their kids that exposure beyond top 40. You know, give them more. Challenge them. Play your stuff. They love it most of the time, you know, until they get older.
Yeah,
until they're too cool for you.
Yeah, when they're like actively rebelling against anything their parents are interested in, which is probably right around the bend for Stacey and I. You say your dad worked in radio, and I'm curious, did you like, is a radio voice something that just gets passed down from generation to generation? Like how do you have a radio voice? Is it from your dad?
It's no, mine's better. I always tell him.
Is it really?
Well, it kind of is, actually. I give him crap about it, but no, I totally got it from him. I like to make up responses, you know, about that all the time to people.
Well, the thing, I don't know if people are realizing this. I've known Derek for several years now, and even outside of radio, he still talks like this. Like, he always has that deep voice, and you'll meet people in radio who some of them kind of put it on when they're on air, but Derek's voice, like, this is legitimately Derek's voice in real life.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys we call pukers, where they have a radio voice, and they talk like this. And then they walk down the hallway and they have no voice, or, you know.
Yeah, they're like, hi.
Yeah, there was a time, they called it boss radio. It was back in the 60s and 70s, where that was a big deal to have that thing, you know. That's how you talked to kind of conjure up excitement while you were talking up a record, you know, which now is seen as terrible. But then that was a thing for a lot of radio stations, for a lot of oldie stations and, that sort of thing. But
have you ever watched WKRP? Is that what it's called?
Oh, God, yeah.
Okay.
That's like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's like everybody has to watch that if you're in radio.
Yeah, my dad actually bought me a box set of it. That show is actually pretty realistic as far as how radio really goes.
Yeah,
Parts of
everybody has worked with a, Johnny Fever or a Herb Tarlick, the sales guy, or a Les Nessman. I mean, anybody that's been in this business long enough has worked with one of those guys and goes, oh yeah, that's so-and-so in our building. And that's what makes it fun. It's so real. The botched promotions, with the turkey drop.
Yeah.
There's all those moments where you go, this is so radio.
Yeah, Derek, you're definitely Johnny Fever. Okay, sorry. We went down a rabbit hole there. That was just, good old radio talk. I'm a puker.
You're not a puker.
No.
You're doing good.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot. Okay, so you just listed how many songs there? So let's go over that list that you already gave for the Beatles so far.
Okay, so Octopus's Garden.
Okay.
Yellow Submarine. Hello, Goodbye, and All Together Now.
I love Yellow Submarine, and I remember listening to that with my dad, and I remember one thing he said about it, because he would always kind of comment on the music we're listening to. Maybe it's kind of like a form of parenting through music and kind of giving me ideas. So he was like, doesn't it sound like they're just having so much fun recording this song? And I'm like, yeah, it's true. Ringo sounds like he's having a blast just playing this part. And I don't know, it's just a fun, light song that I know my kids love that song. So that's a great, great recommendation.
It still holds up after all these years, so.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's just kind of make-believe and fun. And I mean, who doesn't love a Yellow Submarine? What is the song actually about?
A man on a yellow submarine.
Well, you know how these days people speculate about what all the Beatles songs are about? What were they talking about? And it's I mean, does it really matter?
What drugs were they on?
Exactly. Yeah. It's but at the end of the day, does it really matter? Do you like the song or not?
Yeah.
You know?
They all live on a yellow submarine. That's good enough for me.
Okay, so that's 4 songs already. How many songs do you have total for us?
Well, I think I went outside of the top 10, but
okay. Just making sure, because we have plenty of time left, so I just want to make sure that we cover all the bases here. So we have 4 songs already. What's next?
Okay, I put I'm a Believer, and you could go with the Monkees, the original, or the kids would probably like the more modern Shrek version with Smash Mouth.
Okay, let's talk a moment about the Shrek soundtrack, okay?
Yeah.
Shrek soundtrack. So the song All Star, came out when I was a kid. I knew it before Shrek. But kids these days believe that All Star was written for Shrek because it's just so perfect for that opening scene.
Yeah.
And
they've got that sound where it's very bright in the keyboards and, they're, major notes, not minor notes. So, and it's like the ultimate band in the sunshine. They got a few hits, but that's their sound.
Another thing about the Shrek soundtrack is the whole soundtrack itself is killer. There's they have the song Hallelujah in that movie, which is just insane.
Yeah.
I love that song.
That's one of my favorite songs. I didn't know that, Stacey. See, Stacey and I don't listen to music together a lot, so we don't even know what kind of music we like.
You guys need to do that more often.
We're always around our kids, so we have to keep it appropriate. And I think this is maybe something we're kind of aiming for with this episode with you is good songs that adults can appreciate that we can also listen to when we're in the same room with our kids, And Stacey and I have been in the car alone for I think it was only one time, a grand total of once. So it's not even we could go on Spotify in there and have a lot of time to dive into our deep cuts.
Yeah, that's where you go death metal when you guys are together alone in the car. I know.
Good suggestion. Actually, that sounds like fun. I think that would be a good way to let off some steam. And now it's time for a quick break, so stick around. As you probably already know, I, Jenny, have a really hard time teaching science. But I have a secret weapon. KiwiCo. We have been getting monthly kiwi crates delivered to our front door for about a year now, and my kids love it. Each month has a different theme, and for each Kiwi Crate, there are usually 2 or 3 activities my kids and I can do together to teach science concepts. Each month has a different theme, and for each Kiwi Crate, there are usually 2 or 3 activities that my kids and I can do together and learn science concepts. For example, we just did one on human anatomy, and my kids actually got to take turns pretending to be doctors and even got to make a handmade stethoscope to use during the pretend checkups. KiwiCo takes all of the work and struggle out of teaching science, and I know your kids will love it too. Click the link below to check it out and see which KiwiCo product would work best with your homeschool. And now, back to the show. All right, what's next?
Well, Johnny Cash, You Are My Sunshine. I think it's easy. Kids know it. Everybody's done it, but Johnny Cash probably has one of the definitive versions of that. Mm-hmm. So there's one with his wife, June Carter, and there's one that he redid later on. But, that's one of those go-to classic songs. So I don't think it was a hit for him, but it's one of those almost standards. That everybody, my grandpa sang it to me when I was a little kid. Mm-hmm. Been around for many years.
That's kind of a good way. So you kind of got around the whole, because I think your aim wasn't to choose blatantly children's songs, but the fact that it's done by Johnny Cash gives it that edge. And so, that's how you can kind of allow a song like You Are My Sunshine to be on the list. And I love it. I've tried to listen to Johnny Cash with my kids, but the only song I really know very well is Folsom Prison Blues. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to introduce the concept of killing someone just to watch them die.
Yeah.
Even though I love that song. Yeah, he's a dark guy. And just a side note, I grew up, I'm still this way, but even as a 3 and 4-year-old, I only wanted to wear black. Okay? And I think my parents thought there was something wrong with me. And my dad would call me Johnny Cash. And it's kind of a reference I didn't really understand until much later in life.
You still wear black though, right?
Oh yeah, it's my favorite color to wear. It was a thing. So if your kids wear black out there, and that's all they want to wear, then that's probably just fine.
They'll turn out A-okay.
They'll turn out just like me and Johnny.
That's right.
They'll have a
Hosting
podcast.
a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, what do you have next for us, Derek? I'm dying to know.
Okay, I thought I'd go a different turn here with the Spider-Man theme by the Ramones.
Whoa, wait.
I mean,
what?
It absolutely rocks. So probably not good after they've eaten a vat of ice cream and you're trying to get them to bed. But other than that, I mean, this thing smokes. And they'll be up and at 'em. I mean, this is like, hey, you want to get out of bed, you want to do a workout, you want to whatever, put on that Spider-Man theme by the Ramones. It's something. It's good.
I have never heard of this, so obviously I've never heard it, so I'm very excited. My kids love the Ramones. I have a CD of theirs. It's just like one of their greatest hits things. It's not like one of their actual albums. They will sometimes listen to it at bedtime, and I'm like, I don't think that's the best strategy.
No, not at all. The Ramones are, they got punchy, catchy, fast, fun songs. Mm-hmm. So I could see the kids loving that.
Yeah, and they're repetitive. They're like aggressive. To me, it's actually, because I listen to the Ramones with them sometimes in the car, and I'm like, it just dawned on me that what am I trying to say here? The Ramones are so primal. Like everything with them is so stripped down and just like bare minimum and just like pure feelings and angst. And that's kind of how kids are.
Yeah, maybe that's how they relate. Any song that has a call and response where it's like, hey, let's go. Mm-hmm. I mean, every kid, every person that sees a live concert, I mean, that's the thing. You know, anything that kids can latch onto like that, I think they're going to love. Right. And they might not even understand the words. They're just like, okay, whatever this is, I'm into it.
Well, that's something I've noticed with my kids. It's like, it doesn't even matter what the words are saying to any song. As long as they like how it sounds, they like the vibe, they're going to just go with it. Like, okay, this is embarrassing, but we're listening to a lot of late 90s, early 2000s pop, because that's what I grew up with at their age. And so it's a lot
give
of...
me some examples. What does that look like?
So, I mean, this is going to be a very, like, cut and dry list, but it's like Backstreet Boys, NSYNC.
Britney.
I haven't introduced the girl pop stuff to them because it's a little more sexual. It's different, and I have daughters, so I'm like, I don't know. I mean, the boys in these songs are just kind of like crooning to a lost love, and but the kids are like singing these songs like what's the like I want you back, and it's like they don't even know what they're saying. The kids don't, at least, so they just latch on to anything catchy like that, or bye bye bye,
Yeah. So you were watching Carson Daly after school every day.
Oh yeah, TRL.
On TV. TRL, yeah.
Oh, this is who else I've been listening to with the girls from the late 90s, early 2000s, or actually just early 2000s. Avril Lavigne. What are your thoughts on Avril?
My daughter loved that first album.
Yes.
I mean, she just played it into the ground.
Okay, what do you have next for us?
Well, I was kind of wavering on We Will Rock You. Because there's a couple, Blood on Your Face, Big Disgrace. I don't know. That's not horrible, but if you're kind of like, well, I don't want my kids talking about the blood on the face, and you could go with the G-rated cover of Bohemian Rhapsody by the Muppets.
What?
And they've changed the lyrics, like "Mama just killed a man." They don't even touch it. They just go, "Mama." Like Animal will repeat "Mama" and then go into "Dada." The video's even better. So
Muppets.
Very entertaining.
That's okay. That's a good suggestion.
Love the G-rated recommendation for such a classic song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's genius.
Yeah. So then if you want to avoid all that "Mama just killed a man" stuff, you can just go right to the video's great with all the characters in it. So
I think Bohemian Rhapsody, everyone knows the song. It's kind of one of these songs that's just in the zeitgeist, but I think it's such a beautiful song. Like that part in the middle where it's like, "Mama," like it's like, wow, that's pretty. And I sing that a lot just around my house. I'll just like yell "Mama" a lot because I'm trying to teach my toddler how to talk. And she's a reluctant talker, so I'm like, "Mama," just try to get her to say "Mama." And I just find myself thinking about that song a lot these days. But I like that part in the song. No.
Oh.
It's just funny. I don't know. It makes her laugh, so I'm like, okay. And she'll just continue not talking so she can hear me sing more and make a fool of myself.
Maybe if you do the "Mamma Mia, Let Me Go" part and do that whole interlude.
It's just a little fast for her. Like she'd be like the. But I'll try it. I'm writing it down in my notes. Derek teaching my children linguistics. Got it.
Oh, that might not be a good idea.
Yeah, but I do love the song Bohemian Rhapsody. How do you feel about it, Derek? I've heard for radio DJs it's the go to the bathroom song because it's so long.
Back in the day, I was on a country station.
You were on country?
Yuba City. I was on country when back in Garth Brooks was new and George Strait was cranking out songs.
Stacey loves country.
Alan
Jackson.
Jackson.
That's what I was listening to in the 90s.
Yeah, 90s country. And I had to play my records live and pull my commercials every hour and put the music away and pull the next hour. You don't have to do that anymore. Mm-hmm. And most country songs back then were like 2 minutes, 40 seconds, roughly. So it really made it tough if you had to do any real business or even regular business to have enough time, wash your hands and get back, cue up the record and, be ready to go or talk or whatever. So we had a couple of go-to songs. Like there's a song by Alabama called "My Home's in Alabama." Mm-hmm. And if you were in a pinch, that song is like 8 minutes long. And you could put something like that on, and you're like, okay, I can bring a timer with me, and I'll have a feel for, I still got 4 more minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
Without having to run back and forth on both sides of the building. That's what you had to do back in the day. I mean, now it's all computerized pretty much everywhere.
Right.
And you can just put in where you're going to stop and, or even record your break and then leave. But back in the day, it was all live. You were doing all the segues by hand, which, some would argue is more fun.
Yeah.
Because you were more involved in it.
Exactly.
Every moment, But, and you'd be on the phone with a caller, and you're like, oh, hold on just a second. I got to do a segue, and then you'd, segue the next song into the fading out song or whatever. I mean, that was an art in and of itself.
Why do
Yeah.
you think pop songs that are played on the radio are so short? Is it just to get through songs? Like, is that how artists create songs that are more marketable?
Yeah, I think back in the day when music was a new thing and rock and roll was coming up, a lot of record companies would do things like do part one on side A and part two on the other side, and then if you wanted the album track, the longer version, you'd have to buy the record. It was like a ploy to gain sales. They also felt like a lot of program directors back then wouldn't touch it if it was over 3 or 4 minutes.
Right, because the audience might potentially lose interest. Is that the concept?
Yeah, maybe they wanted to play more songs as well, but yeah, the audience, nobody plays a song with a 3 minute guitar solo.
Right.
What is that?
Well, okay, so going back to Bohemian Rhapsody, that was kind of an anomaly back then. And I feel like maybe song lengths have gotten maybe slightly longer over time. Like a common song, I feel like is closer to 4 minutes now. I mean, you're saying 3:30, but maybe slightly closer to 4 minutes. And one embarrassing thing about me is I'm like a diehard Harry Styles fan.
Oh
And
boy, so's my daughter.
oh, okay. Well, she and I should meet because I think we'd get along just great. But his first single on his first solo album, so this was like 5 years ago, was a song called "Sign of the Times." It's a 7-minute piano ballad.
Yeah, I'm aware. It was a David Bowie-esque record.
Yeah.
And he kind of came out with that around after Bowie died and said he was a big influence on the album. And
He was.
you
I
definitely
I
hear
can
it.
see it. Yeah, definitely. And it's just a shocking choice. But I feel like it still got airplay. I don't really know, but it was just a shocking choice, especially these days with, just it's a different kind of song than is usually
Well,
released.
I do think that most top 40 stations will play the edit. They'll be given the option now where maybe a station might throw it in. Most of it is just filler, a long solo, a long piano intro, and then they start the song. Some of it can be eliminated. But, when Guns N' Roses at Sweet Child of Mine edited, and it was basically like 30 seconds of the guitar solo. I mean, Axl Rose was furious. He's like, what's the point? I mean, so you guys can play an extra 30-second commercial? I mean, that's, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know, but if it's good, it's good. I mean, it'll stick like Bohemian Rhapsody did in the mid-'70s. I mean, if it's something that's a classic or original, it's going to get airplay.
Well, Harry Styles is definitely classic. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
What are your feelings on Harry Styles? Just really quick. I'm dying to know.
I think he's a talented artist.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
I
okay,
think
that makes
he's
me feel better.
interesting. He's an
I agree.
interesting artist.
Well, anyway, sorry. I just needed to know because I listen to these things and I'm like, this is great, and I don't know what actual music knowledge people know.
There goes all my rock credibility.
Yeah, let's just not promote this episode at all because you might not make it much further in this business.
That's right.
No, I appreciate the honesty though. Okay, what do you have next on your list for us?
Okay, well, speaking of long songs, and here's another example. They had a part one and a part two of this, which got blended together because it was so irresistible. Shout from the Isley Brothers. I mean, this is a classic, been covered by just about everybody live. This will send your kids into a fun frenzy. The call and response, the shout, and the hey, and all those parts. I mean, no one can resist that song. If a band like Tom Petty plays it live, which they did several times, among many other acts, it's an instant like barn burner. Everyone call and response. They're all into it.
That is a good recommendation. I like that. I wasn't really thinking about that kind of genre or that like time period, but that's a really good suggestion.
It's a fun listen. I mean, even after all these years, when you go back and you hear, and really when these guys like Little Richard and these guys captured emotion in a song and they just blaze through Tutti Frutti or something, I mean, you can hear it. I mean, it has that same feeling when you hear it now as they did when they recorded it.
Right. Yeah. Just so much energy, so much energy, so much power goes into these songs that just makes it so irresistible.
Yeah. And Tutti Frutti might work too. I didn't even have it on the list.
That's a good suggestion too, actually. What do you mean there were two parts of Shout?
Well, they labeled it part 1 and part 2, and I think they did the A and B side on the single that way because it was too long. It's like 7.5 minutes roughly. And a lot of stations started playing the whole thing because towards the end, it's like you're in church at a gospel, it's just intense.
Yeah. Well, I'm having trouble. You're saying the song Shout, and I hear it at weddings all the time. But I'm like, what's the actual melody of like the verses? Are there verses? All I can hear in my mind is shout, shout.
Yeah, and then it kind of drops down, and there's a couple of moments where they take it way down, and they kind of go slower, and then they slowly start building it up again.
Amazing.
Which, yeah, when they get back to that pinnacle, then it's just like, oh my God, let's rip the furniture and all the cushions out.
I don't know. Your songs are starting to incite a lot of dangerous activity. I don't know if we should air this episode after all.
Yeah, maybe skip that with the kids. You never know.
Ramones, Shout. I don't know, man. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, plenty of energy.
Yes. Oh, well, kids love that kind of stuff. If you want to keep your kids occupied, just turn on music loud and let them just dance. And they'll love it.
Let them get that energy out.
Like Stacey, like last time all you guys came up here for a long day, I think it was like during the holidays, your son specifically asked to have a dance party.
Yeah, they love it. I mean, well, it's always great when, Uncle puts, disco lights in the room and makes it even more exciting. But yeah, they love to just dance and move around, and they have so much energy at the end of the night, and it makes them sleep well when we go home. So that's fine with me.
Definitely.
Easy exercise.
Yes. Homeschool PE option. Should we market this episode as a homeschool PE episode?
You could.
This is PE.
Play music and dance.
Yes. Okay, what else do you have for us, Derek?
Bob Marley and the Wailers' Three Little Birds. That's the Don't Worry About a Thing, Every Little Thing's Gonna Be All Right song.
Love that song. That's a good one.
Yeah. And it's a great message, and the kids will probably repeat that, about the third go-round on that song.
Well, I like it because it's also kind of in stark contrast to the other songs that you're listing, because the other ones kind of have a hardness to them. Mm-hmm. And this song by Bob Marley is just really I'm like Bob in my head right now just thinking about it. It's like, it's just relaxing. It's just like soothing. There's a vibe to it. And that could be really soothing to a kid, I feel like.
Yeah, it's light. You float on air. It's a good message. Yeah, totally.
All right. What else do you have for us?
Well, I think this song has animals. It's got the line, all the boys and girls, tailor-made for this demographic, Joy to the World from Three Dog Night.
Nice. Uh-huh. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And well,
Starts
and that's
off, Jeremiah was a bullfrog. That's perfect.
Okay, like, please forgive me if this is a terribly dumb question, but is that like a cover of a children's song, or is that just the song and I just think of it as a children's song in my head?
No, that's the song.
Okay, I always just thought that was like a rock version of like a lullaby type song. You know what I mean?
No.
It sounds like written for kids.
Yeah, it does. It's great. I mean, it's a classic.
Totally.
And I still listen to it to this day. I mean, even though my daughter's grown up.
Yeah, and like you said, that opening line, Jeremiah was a bullfrog. It tells a story and it has characters. Like, kids really gravitate towards that.
Yeah, I think kids would be like, what? A bullfrog?
Yeah, exactly.
Jeremiah.
Who's Jeremiah? Why is he a bullfrog? What?
Yeah.
Okay, do you have any more songs on your list of songs kids should know?
I do. I have one more.
Okay.
For your young ones who don't want to take a bath, you throw in a rubber ducky, some bubble bath, and you put on Bobby Darin's Splish Splash.
That is such a good song.
Yes.
Yeah.
They'll
have a great time. Water could end up everywhere, but, it'll be fun.
Okay, does it?
Another one of those dangerous songs.
That's right.
Derek is just really wreaking havoc on all our households right now.
I want us to watch video of you guys panicking as you play these songs.
Okay, you asked for it. But does that song have like sound effects and stuff of like bubbles and water? I feel like
I think.
Okay,
It's been a while. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I think in the beginning it does. Or maybe it's just the way the song sounds that it makes me think of that. But yeah, that is such a fun song. And I don't know. I don't know if, Stacey, do any of your kids not like taking a bath? I have one.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the day. A lot of mine love the water, but for some reason, bath time, I don't know, it's just not their thing.
What's up with that?
I don't get
Well,
it.
see, here you go. You put some bubble
Yep.
bath in there, you get the right song, and all of a sudden it's fun.
Yes, splish splash.
Yes.
Okay, well, Derek, now that your list is over, which it was a great list, by the way, I don't think anyone could have done that better. I want to talk a little bit about your background in radio, and we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but could you tell us a little bit about your background in radio and then information on the podcast that you host right now?
Yeah, so basically, how can I summarize this fairly quickly? So I started as a junior in high school. I made a phone call saying, do you have any internships? They said no, but we have a weekend opening. And I said, my dad's in radio. He's taught me a lot of stuff. And they will, well, come down. And I got the job. So I moved on and I went to work in Modesto, Stockton, at Rock 95, which doesn't exist anymore, moved to Quad. And I was there for, I don't know how long, 3-4 years. And then about 99, 2000, somewhere in there, I went, or 2001, I went to the Eagle, where I worked for 15 years plus.
Mm-hmm.
Also worked on ESPN 1320 with the Rise Guys for 3 years almost.
Are you a sports lover?
I am a sports lover.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah. So I was the educated fan on the show, which ended up actually working out quite nicely. And then I left for iHeart and did that for almost 4 years, doing the River for afternoon drive. And I was the director of digital content for the 6 station. So it was quite crazy. You know, it was a lot of work. So that, and now I have my own internet radio station, which is kind of eclectic rock. I would describe it as blues. It's like many genres melted together. It's like adult alternative. It's some Americana, which is kind of like alt country stuff. And it's like new music for adults. But that's what I'm doing, as well as my podcast on Spotify, the show with Derek Moore, where I just do whatever, you know. I'll do theme weeks. I'll play whatever I want one week. I'll do requests one week, you know, just a mixture of different fun things. So, yeah, it's a good time.
Well, that's great. I love all that stuff. And your show is really cool because it's on Spotify, and you're able to play like the whole songs, right? Is that because it's on Spotify?
Yeah, they have a special agreement, and you have to pay for Spotify. If you have a free Spotify account, you only get 30-second clips. So I've had a lot of listeners go, what is this? I don't get it. You know, why are you only playing 30 seconds? I thought this was going to be promising. I'm like, no, you have to subscribe. You have to have an account.
That's how they get you.
Yeah, exactly. So if you have an account, you get to hear the full thing as it's intended.
That is so cool. And I like it because it feels like actual like old DJ radio type stuff. You know, it's like you hear the whole song and then you hear you talk about it or talk about other things that are going on in music today or historical events. So it's super cool.
Well, the thing about radio that's changed, which I think needs to change, is outside of morning drive, they've really shrunk talent down to, okay, it's all about the music, and you do as little talking as possible, and which I think is a mistake. And I think, honestly, if radio is going to survive and thrive in the next 5-10 years, it's going to have to go more personality-oriented, where it's the opposite.
It's the opposite of streaming. Like, it would have to compete with that with a different kind of product.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you can only go so long by playing the same songs over and over and over every day.
That's true.
I think you need
I
to
completely agree with that. I mean,
know,
like, I know you two are like in the radio industry, but being a radio listener when I'm in the car without my kids, which is rarely, I've noticed that more and more because I don't have a morning commute. Again, I homeschool, so I'm not commuting in the morning. But I realize that these DJs are just getting, like, they're hardly even getting like 15 seconds in between songs to say anything. And a lot of what they say is like, oh, check our Facebook page for the full story.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm driving. I can't go to your Facebook page to look at the full story. Tell me about it. But they
Right.
do a lot of these teasers, and I would love some more personality to make me want to stay on any one station.
And that's a great point because, you have to remember that people are driving. That's what they're doing when they listen to the radio. Like 80% of the time is driving. They're not going to text you for a contest. They're not going to, that localism is lost. There's a lot of things, and when you get 15, 20 seconds to say something, you can't tell a story.
Right.
What if I have a compelling story about a song or what happened to me at the grocery store? You feel like you can't. You just give up. You just go, okay, well, I have 20 seconds. By the time you say your name and the call letters and that was Linkin Park and the song title and, blah, 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 you're like 7, 8 seconds in. So that leaves you with like a sentence.
Right.
Is that good radio? I mean, I don't think it is. So I think there needs to be a change. They need to have people that can deliver that have personalities. And it doesn't mean they have to talk for 10 minutes at a time. But, if they want to talk for 2 minutes about, the NBA finals or whatever it is,
Yeah.
give them the freedom to create and be interesting. And then I think it gives people another reason to listen.
Well, and that's what's so cool about your show is you're kind of doing that. You're kind of being the change you want to see. So I think people probably really appreciate that. And so I want you to be able to tell people where they can find your show and where they can find you on social media, and then we'll get into your recommendation of the week.
On social media, I'm just around at Radio Derek Moore. That's DEREK on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I am at array107.com for the internet station and the show with Derek Moore on Spotify if you want to check it out. And or reach out to me on social media. It's good talking to listeners still, and I do a lot of stuff, questions and talk about music on social media and people interact. So it's fun.
Excellent. Okay. Are you ready to share your much awaited recommendation of the week for our listeners?
Okay. This is totally lame. This is all I could come up with.
I doubt it. I doubt it's lame.
No, it's terrible.
Okay.
It's okay. So the Park mobile app. That's my recommendation. Because I discovered, if you go downtown or Old Sacramento or, you try to park, you got to go fill up your meter by hand, every hour or two, right? And nobody wants to do that. Well, the Park mobile app, you can do it from wherever you are. You're sitting somewhere, you're at Drake's, having a pizza, whatever it is. You don't have to constantly walk, especially in the summer when it's 100 degrees. Nobody wants to do unnecessary exercise, right?
That's a great suggestion, actually, for parents in particular, because we don't want to be going all over with our kids. Like, if our kids are settled doing something, the last thing we want to do is get up and feed the meter.
No, exactly.
I literally avoid meters at all costs.
Yeah, so get
so I don't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So get the Park mobile app.
It's great because you can just fill up your time. Like, I got 5 more minutes. So you just go in there and go, I want another hour and a half or whatever you want. It'll give you everything. So you just take the number of your space or your meter. It'll say 3245. And you just, take a shot of that on your phone and then, and take a picture of your license. That's very important.
Hacks.
So
parking hacks with Derek.
Not endorsing it, I swear.
Yeah, I don't think they even would have the budget for endorsements anyway.
Probably not, but if you're listening, you guys, I'm willing to endorse it. That's not what I'm saying.
See, Derek out here, he's a businessman. He's an entrepreneur.
That's right.
He's out here hustling. Well,
any way I can find it. Yeah.
thank you, Derek, so much for being here. I think everything you said, including your parking tips, were extremely helpful for parents. And I'm really excited for people to maybe check out some of this music you mentioned.
Well, thank you guys. This was a lot of fun.
You can be our resident music expert.
That's right. I'll pop in with you guys.
Wow, Jenny, I absolutely loved all of Derek's recommendations on his list.
Me too. I don't think he could have come up with a better list. I mean, maybe someday later down the line we'll interview him again and maybe he'll top this list, but his list was just so comprehensive, such good songs that are appropriate for kids and just fun for the whole family. And I don't know, you could just tell he just loves music so much and he loves radio so much, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to have him on, was to talk about just radio in general and all these old songs that he's just been exposed to his whole life, because there's stuff that all of us could probably learn from someone like Derek, you know?
Yeah, and I was actually really surprised. Again, I know that you and Derek are like radio people, and like I know music, but I'm not as quite into it as like you are. So it was really nice. I was worried that I wouldn't know any of the songs. Like at the beginning, he's like, "Oh, name Beatles songs." I was just like, maybe I can name one. I'm not a professional here, but it was really nice that I recognized so many of the songs and was just like, wow, why did I never think of that? One thing that we need to do, though, is try to create this list into something playable.
Yeah, I think what I could do is I can create a public playlist on Spotify. So once I'm able to do that, I will definitely be putting that in the links in the show notes so that all you guys can check out this list, because I want as many people as possible to hear these songs. Like if there are some on this list that Derek mentioned and you haven't heard them yet, you should definitely listen to them.
Oh, that is a great idea. I cannot wait to play these songs for my kids now.
Yeah, it's a really fun list. Well, sounds like that's about it. Thank you to everyone who has rated and reviewed this podcast. This is a true labor of love for us. We just love doing these podcast episodes with these wonderful guests that we have. And we just appreciate all of your support so much. When you rate and review, it really helps the show.
And we love hearing from you guys as well. So if you have any questions or want to reach out to us for anything, you can email us at kidslearningforlife@gmail.com, or you can also find us on Instagram and Facebook at Kids Learning for Life.
And don't forget about our YouTube channel, Kids Learning for Life, because we have lots of helpful homeschool tips there.
And with that, we will see you next time.